This segment of uncontrollable crying and bitter musing is brought to you with limited commercial interruption by SeatGeek. Pirates fans, do you want to see a cheap excuse for a baseball team taking constant losses in an absolutely gorgeous setting? SeatGeek can help. It's an app that aggregates all available tickets on the web to get you the best possible price. Knowing how attendance is going to be this year, there are going to be a lot of people all but giving seats away. SeatGeek grades tickets on a 1 to 100 scale and color codes them for ease of use. If you needed any more help, you can even get a sneak peek of the view where you'll be sitting. You can watch an on-field tragedy on the cheap with this app, and if you use the code word TREE on the link below, you'll get a cool $20 off your first purchase. If there's one thing that Pittsburghers despise, it's Bob nutting. You want to get back at him but enjoy the view at PNC Park? SeatGeek is the answer.
While following this team over the years, I did the one thing you don't do. I grew attached. If there is any reason to rip Nutting to shreds right now, it's because nobody is being held accountable for this. He's too content with allowing a management team too enamored with the smell of their own shit to stubbornly run this team into the ground. My biggest fear is that he's not going to do a damn thing until the bottom line is affected. By doing nothing, he's proving all of those annoying Yinzers and conspiracy theorists right.
I really didn't think I'd be doing another video on this team as soon as this. I had figured that they would stubbornly keep trying to be competitive when it was far from the truth. But alas, it is happening. The core is being liquidated for pennies on the dollar. Andrew McCutchen and Garrett Cole, the two proverbial faces of the franchise, are gone. More are probably to come. The main emotion I'm feeling right now is not of anger or hatred, but of sadness. That far too brief ride of relevance is officially over. The optimism that we all had about this team, these players, is gone. It slowly faded into an ember that has finally died out. And for what? One wildcard win and a series of frustrating disappointments. It's hard to admit now, but when Kyle Schwarber hit that home run into the Allegheny in 2015, it was the moment the Pirates jumped the shark. It was the beginning of the end. Ever since then, it's been a slow and painful death for this team. I know that you're expecting me to do what I did to the Steelers, but I'm not. I'm not going to yell and scream about the Pirates because, honestly, they aren't worth it. To me, this team doesn't even try. They are far too content with their own self-satisfaction and regressive ways to bother to improve. This team is the epitome of the drunken sailor. It's a ship that has no direction, no motive, no crew, and a captain who spends his time chugging rum while hoarding precious years of control. Neil Huntington, I can't believe I thought he was doing well at one point. These last few years, he has been one of the worst GMs in the league, bar none. I ask you, sir, what the fuck are you doing? What is your vision, your direction? For far too long, you've been trying to straddle the line of win now and build for the future. It has failed spectacularly. I know you're trying to be the St. Louis Cardinals, but there are several key differences. Mainly, they can actually develop players. Seriously, name me one prospect this organization has had that has reached expectations over the past 5 years. Hard to find one, right? It's because there are none. Starling Marte is probably the closest one, but even he hasn't reached his full potential by failing to develop consistent power and plate patience. Garrett Cole didn't turn into the ace that everyone expected him to. In fact, he's regressed in some areas. The team admitted that they rushed Pedro Alvarez and fucked him up. Gregory Polanco looking like a total bust so far. Tyler Glasnow, the less said the better. Alan Hansen fizzled out so much that he was dumped on waivers. They've all but given up on Latin America, but not before throwing money on players that completely suck. That's not even getting into those big-time draft flops either. Anyone remember that great draft class from 2009? All the money they threw at high school pitchers? Total waste. Those guys are just the headliners. Let's not even get into his transaction acumen over the past few years. In the 2015 offseason, the team was primed for another playoff run. All it needed were a few slabs of concrete to build it up, and you gave it aluminum foil. Now I'm not going to flip out over not signing Jay Happ. The contract he got from Toronto was ridiculous at the time, and if people knew he was going to maintain form, he would have gotten $20 million per year. The Neil Walker trade I didn't mind either. He was excess goods with Josh Harrison, he was injury prone, and John Neese seemed like a bounce-back candidate. What I take issue with was going into spring training with fucking Ryan Vogelsong as your fifth starter. Really? That is what a championship contending team starts? It didn't matter since the team's pitching completely fell apart and the Pirates spiraled back into mediocrity. Then his true colors started showing. There was that disastrous Francisco Liriano trade where they traded some of their better prospects to shed his salary. It doesn't matter if Reese McGuire and Harold Ramirez flame out, the whole premise of the trade was fucking terrible. It's not just that, it's the inconsistency of it all. You shed salary only to reinvest in excess bullpen help like Antonio Bastardo and Daniel Hudson. Speaking of the bullpen, what the fuck did you do with Juan Nicasio? You don't trade him at the July trade deadline, then throw him on irrevocable waivers in August because you felt that he needed a chance to be on a winning team. He immediately gets claimed by Philadelphia and traded to a division rival for the final month. Philadelphia actually got a return for him. You didn't. You fucked up royally. But here's what I don't get. So apparently Nicasio was excess goods, yet you swallowed the entire contract of Sean Rodriguez for what can only be explained as fan service. Did Clint Hurdle need more of those precious veterans in his lineup? Did Clint get an aneurysm by being forced to play prospects? Why do you supplement all of those right-handed bullpen arms with more right-handed bullpen arms? Regardless, it was always about the return you got for your big players, how you demanded the moon and then some for your big guns. The rest of the league laughed in your face as their value diminished. And now you've traded Garrett Cole for an incredibly underwhelming package of magic beans. For McCutchen, it's even more insulting. You literally traded him for some guy in A-ball and a failed top prospect from 2011. The time to trade him was a few years ago. You didn't. Remember that he tried the same damn thing with his trades 10 years ago. It did not work. But you say it can't get worse, but it does. Huntington is completely oblivious to reality. Look at this quote. This is a young, talented team here that is going to be fun to watch, and they're going to go out and fight every single night to honor these fans and to respect and appreciate the anger that they feel right now and turn that anger into sold-out, loud playoff PNC Park. Are you fucking kidding me? You think this team makes the playoffs? That is such a passive-aggressive jab that I'm bleeding on the inside from it. He's been wrong for years now. He preached pitch to contact when MLB became a strikeout league. He focused on singles and doubles when the league refocused on home runs. I know we can do a cheap cop-out by saying, at least we aren't the Marlins, but the Marlins acquired good prospects for their players. They know how to develop from within. The Pirates do not. I've slowly come to a realization about Neil Huntington. He's Mark Bergevin. He's out of touch. He's a poster child for the Dunning-Kruger effect. He thinks the way he's doing things is the best, and nothing can stop them. I really don't know how much of this is on him and how much is on Bob Nutting, but the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. I am ashamed to admit that I once defended this man. I figured, give him time, let them become a winner, and he will reinvest in the product. The man is a businessman after all. He did not. He was too afraid of risking net margins for the sake of greater profits and chose to be content with the way things are. It's not that Bob Nutting is a cheap ass, it's that Bob Nutting doesn't care. He doesn't care about what the team does. He doesn't care about holding people accountable. He doesn't care what the fans think. He doesn't care if the attendance is down 500,000 people in the past 2 years. Bob Nutting is going to make a profit on this team regardless. He's Dean Spanos before the move to LA. He's content with pretending to roll with the big boys while maintaining an aura of being a third-rate used car salesman. This team is his cash cow and he's not going to be selling anytime soon, regardless of what the Yinzers want. And that's why I've given up. Whatever faith I may have had, whatever attachment I forged with this team, it's gone. That's why I can't get angry at them. Showing anger shows that you still care. This team does not, so why should I? Do you want to know the moment when I gave up? It's when they extended Huntington and Hurdle. It showed to me that this organization does not give a shit about winning, that they are content with mediocrity and bobbleheads. Throw a few fireworks nights to appease the families and call it a day. This organization is lazy, and that's why it's not worth getting riled up. I'll still go to a few games. The ballpark is always breathtaking, but it won't be for this team. It feels like the ending to Animal Farm, when the animals knew they were being used by their new leaders. There was no anger. There was simply resignation. There is no hope. We have returned to the Dark Ages, and who knows if they ever come back out of it. It was nice to see real baseball in this city for a few years. Too bad it may not happen for a long, long time to come.
Well hit to left. Deep and gone. To second. That's it. The Pittsburgh Pirates are on their way to St. Louis in the National League Division Series. A playoff win in Pittsburgh for the first time since 1992.